What's up, everyone? Some of you can hear me out there. Good morning, everyone. Can anybody hear me out there? My name is Corey Lane. Give me something in the chat box if you can hear me. All right. Looks like maybe you can. All right. This is my very first YouTube live, everyone. So bear with me for just 2 seconds as I get my little studio here all set up. I'm very used to Zoom, not exactly used to YouTube Live, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this morning. It is early here in Southern California, 5 a.m. or 5:05, so let's kind of get a move on here. If you have any questions, I'm watching the chat box as well. You should be able to see my 4 setup grid around the broad markets. All right, so thanks, Sean. What's up, buddy? What's up, everyone? So let's start with the S&P 500. So last night we had our Sunday evening trading room, and we were looking for bullish positions overall in the broad markets because on the larger time frames, we're still in an uptrend. And anytime we're in an uptrend, we want to look for ways to join that uptrend. Well, we were looking last night on a pullback, and we got the pullback. But we were looking at this is a 1 hour level, so it's a 60-minute level. It's a wick over wick. Now, what do I mean by wick over wick? Well, I've got this big green candle with a tiny little wick on top, and I got a big a second green candle with this little wick on the bottom. And on a smaller time frame, likely a 15-minute chart, that's going to be a period of equilibrium before the market took off again. Well, when prices returned, we do not want to see basing. You know, those of you guys who watch Chuck Fulkerson each day know that we do not want to see basing before the level. It's the kiss of death. Why is that? Well, it ruins profit margins. And so anytime prices base in front of an area where we want to be long, can't see the chart. Let me move my big face out of the way. How's that? Is that a lot better? Again, first time. Thanks for telling me. I'm still learning how to use this darn thing. That should be better, right? That should be better. Yeah, now I'm nice and tiny. Love the hair. Yeah, I'd want to see the chart too. That's what we want to focus on. So this is the area that I was talking about when my big face was in the way. This was an area where we were hoping to get long, but unfortunately all this basing in front of the level ruined the reward to risk. So it's not that we don't, like the area to be long. We just need the profit margin there, and this was a disqualified trade if you were up this morning or overnight. So I'm going to go ahead and take those lines off the chart, and we're going to look for areas below. So we're still in an uptrend, looking at just a quick double check. Yep, 4-hour chart says we're still in an uptrend. We did come back a little bit down here, so let's go into a 1 hour. And looks like this old support area is being used a little bit as resistance right now. So I'm going to drop it down one more to a 15-minute chart. Oh, and here's what I really like to see. All right, so check this out. Nah, I don't like to see that. So I was looking at this area, and I like this area overall. However, we've been here once before, and the last time we were here, we stayed here for quite some time. Now, I like that this area, broke out of this area of resistance. So it took out all this resistance from this. This was the true origin of the move. We've already come back. This is the retest on that whole level. So if we're going to trade this level, I still like it. I'm going to make it, because it's a 15-minute level, make that purple, make that purple. And what I also should have done while I was in that window is make these dashed lines. Why am I making them dashed lines? Well, because I want a little extra confirmation that this area is going to hold. We've already been here, and the more times an area is hit, the more likely it is to actually break through. So if this level is going to hold, I want to be a part of it to the upside, at least to this area right here. So that'll give us a good 3-to-1. But I want to do so on a confirmation entry. If we break down, start to break down below these, right, because we've got our hourly time frame, not daily, hourly. If we start to break down below this area, now we're targeting a much lower area where we might want to buy, but that might change the context of the trade on the 4-hour chart. So if we get all the way down here, now we're starting to question how strong of an uptrend are we really in. So a couple little areas there on the 60 and the 15-minute time frame. All right, NASDAQ, same thing, except NASDAQ last night actually hit our level, which is the 15-minute area of demand. It did pop up. It didn't give you much more than about a 2-to-1 before then collapsing right through it. So now that we've collapsed right through it, we're definitely not going to want to keep this here. But I'm not going to remove those drawings. I'm just going to activate those because I already see a pretty interesting area in the NASDAQ that I like. So right in here, after this lower, turn, we had a little bit of a rally, a little bit of a basing candle here with, it's kind of a long upper wick, but, a little bit longer than I would have liked to have seen, but it's still a basing candle. Prices took off after that. The question is, are we going to get a pullback to this area? If we do, I like it on a 15-minute time frame, and I like it up to around 12.532. So that's going to give us about a good 3-to-1 if we're talking about this 532 area being a target 1. Looks like the market's trying to put some pressure against this. I do not like any breakout, trade anywhere in here. Reason being is even if you try to get a breakout here, you're going to run right into this, you're going to run right into this decline here, and you're going to run right into this, these areas of supply. So I don't like anything on the breakout. I only like the NASDAQ for a pullback. The Russell, still kind of waiting on the Russell here. Russell, it has been our leader for quite some time, so I would love to be long the Russell, but unfortunately the nearest area of demand, and this is on an hourly chart, so I'm going to make those green. Oh no, John, speed dating didn't put me totally off on the NASDAQ, but it's not necessarily the one, speed dating. For those of you who are probably watching, going, what in the hell is he talking about? It's a stock selection process that I have that I shared with John specifically amongst a bunch of other members. But with the NASDAQ, it is not really the strongest or the weakest market right now, so I don't know that we're going to get an opportunity to really enter the NASDAQ, but Russell, what's up, Dennis? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. So 1858, yeah, I've got 1858 down here as well, Dennis. Right, so I really dig this area for a lot of reasons. One, it was the origin of the last big move, so I like that we're catching, if we see a pullback to 1858, we're catching the first return to that area, so I like it. What I also like about it is that it took out all of this resistance to the left, so there was a lot of trading that was occurring in that area over the past week and a half, almost, actually, yeah, about a week and a half, 2 weeks almost. And so this is a opportunity to be long if you missed the breakout. I didn't catch this breakout, right? That definitely wasn't me. But if we can catch a pullback to that breakout area, that is exactly where I want to be. And I want to keep my stop below all of this basing here. So it's not just below my 1849.80. I want to keep it below 1846.60, below all of this basing. So this is my favorite market to be long because it is, at least right now, because it is the stronger of all the majors. All right. That was equities. If you guys have any questions, do not hesitate to throw those in the chat box. Always happy to help. And I'm not exactly positive how this works, but am I supposed to ask you to hit the thumbs up button and smash the subscribe and like button? Am I supposed to do that? Is that the channel? If you think I'm kidding, this is my very first YouTube live session, so I don't know what to do in YouTube. All right, check this out. Oh, you did, Liz? Look at that. Liz hooking me up. Thank you so much. Awesome. All right, so crude oil, let's bump up to the hourly time frame here. All right, crude oil made an attempt to break out, right? So this was one that Chuck was watching, but was an invalid trade because we had no basing before the breakout. Yes, prices did break out, but no basing, so your stop would have had to have been down here. And there's no real risk reward that makes sense off of something like that. So that's no longer an area of interest there. But what I am starting to see here, we didn't quite get a deep enough pullback for an area right here. This was a nice area for potential entry on a pullback, but it would have been a confirmation entry. Down here on a 15-minute time frame, looks like Chuck has something from last week, which I still stand by. I absolutely love this 15-minute level down here. Gosh, if we could only get there. Now on this time frame, right? Let me go back up, right? So on the hourly chart, the trend is starting to put in lower highs and lower lows. So while we might be waiting for this area down here on a 15-minute time frame to be long, I actually really like the idea of looking at a short out of this area. Now I'd want to keep the stop above, you know, I mean, even though this is the area, this is the zone, the sell zone here, stop needs to be here. What I don't like about that is your profit margin right here. That gets you about 1.5 to 1. And now that I look at that off the short, a 1.5 to 1 does not make a whole lot of sense. So let's see. What I'd like to see is I'd like to maybe see crude oil drop, put in, maybe a little bit of a lower low here. I mean, if we got back up into this area and we put in, let's see, if we put in better profit margins. So I really need to see prices drop and then come back up sharply to justify a short on this time frame. Because right now, if we were to do that, our profit margins wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So maybe it makes more sense to just wait for the 4 hour to pull back. So if we can get a pullback, that would be a little better. But right now, there's not a whole lot. Even on the 4 hour, this looks pretty decent actually. So what do we have going on inside there? I don't love it. This is about the only area that I would like on a 4 hour chart, but the more I look at it on a 1 hour, we already saw prices rally away and then come right back. So this area could hold because it is a larger time frame, but I'm not just going to give full faith in it and limit order at 45.07. The only thing I would consider in that area is a confirmation entry on the long side, a little bit higher. So that's going to be what on a 1 hour? We'll go green and green, but confirmation entry. Boom, boom. And then if we get some open, profit margins, then I'd still like this area right here on the 60. But I need to see profit margins open up a little bit. And right now they're just not there. So that's a questionable one still. All right. Gold. All right. So had a breakout attempt up in this area from last week. Kind of didn't really do so much. Didn't really give us a lot of, muster up any strength, to make it up to 1863. So, at best, this thing was, half a reward to one. So it really doesn't really make a lot of sense to even consider any breakout trade above this area at all anymore, right? Now, as gold on this time frame started to put in lower highs and lower lows, you could look at, I like the way that this fell apart right here for a little bit of supply for a potential sell area. So I do like the way that fell apart. I'm on an hourly, so we are green. Zero green. Save as default just for now. But I also still like this turn in price down here, right? So we had a little pullback. This was the origin of price that took out all this resistance up here. So a pullback to this area, I would absolutely welcome that. So if we can get an opportunity to be short at 1841 down to 1823 to enter long, then that would be the trade on both sides for gold. Natural gas continues to fall. Let's see, I want to go up in time frame. I want to go up to the 4-hour for a second. All right, so yeah, natural gas is breaking down below some of this support right here from a couple weeks ago. We're going to test this little support right here. I'm not going to even think about going long in this area, but if we get some basing right in here, I would be up for, looking at a potential breakdown. I know we don't have 3 tests to this area. This was 1. This is going to be the 2nd. So if we get basing here and then break down, it is a little bit higher expectation that this thing is going to break down on a 2nd retest. If we get a 3rd retest, if we get a bounce off this level and we get a 3rd retest, then it would be even better for a breakdown short down to around 2.113. As far as how to join, if we're talking about this trend being down and how do we join it, let's look at, I really like this area on the 4-hour. But let's see what it looks like on the hour. All right. I do see that area. I still like that area, but notice how we did actually test it once already. Price dropped away, tried to base at this area of support, did not hold, broke down, quick little retest, and now we're heading on. So while I still like this area, because it's already been retested once, it has to be a confirmation entry for me, just to make sure that we have a little more proof if we get back up into this area. I want price to get into the area and then fall away again. We'll see if that happens. Because you would have missed, unless you took it last night, we were talking about the gap and go last night in our trading room. So you would be up, a good, 2 to 1 if you took the gap and go on the short. If we don't hold this particular area, then I'll look up here a little higher to the gap fill to join the downtrend. Nat gas. Anybody? I know I see obviously a lot of faces or a lot of usernames from our trading rooms. Anybody catch the gap and go short on nat gas from last night? All right, that's an old chuck level right in here. So let's remove that. So we got Kappa. Let's go back up to the hourly time. Actually, I want to go to the 4-hour first. So what do we got on the 4-hour? Well, we got a trend, but it's weakening. Was a really strong trend, but you can see that the highs, while they're making higher highs, they're not making increasingly higher highs. Did get a little bit of a pullback here, but notice how the profit margins are starting to shrink here, right? If you got a pullback and you're long off the 4-hour, you really only have a profit target of about this area because looks like we're starting to pinch, right? And anytime the charts are starting to pinch like that, our profit margins are going to really start to shrink up. So, we could look and see, okay, does it make sense to be long? It might make sense to be long down here at 3.4294, but with an almost retest, I'd still want to keep that as a confirmation long entry. On the short side, we're sitting, we had such a strong uptrend. I'm always hesitant to short in such a strong uptrend. But that uptrend looks like it's weakening. So what I may look to do on something like this is, we're breaking down around this area. We're sitting right here. So we've got, this is the origin of this rally, but then we had another retest, which resulted in a smaller rally. Now it's using this as a little resistance. Came right back down to test it again. It'd be interesting to see if we can get a breakdown out of this, actually a short. a breakdown short. Just for a little added, comfort, I'd go below, 3.4721. So a little basing in this area, I would love to see a breakdown short. Let's make that a blue line for breakdown. Right now, however, the stop would need to go way up here above this pivot because that's where our breakdowns are. So I'd like to see a little bit more basing. That will give us a little bit of a tighter stop with some stop going above that basing. And then that'll be a buy stop to kick us out if prices end up rallying back higher. So we're willing to take a little bit of risk if we get a little more basing in this area on a short below 347 down to 3429, which is basically where we want to reverse that into a long. And I'm okay being long and short, not at the same time, obviously, but long and short, looking for both opportunities in something like this because overall we're in a sort of a weaker stage of the uptrend. We're starting to go sideways, which is likely what we're going to see before, an entire reversal in copper. All right. How we doing out there? So we got soy here, soybeans. Right, still waiting for a little reversal. Right now we're getting, lower highs, lower lows on the 1 hour. Still looking for an hourly reversal out of this area with a stop below 1140. Nothing to really say about this one that we haven't already said in the past. We're coming down. We've got, overall on the larger time frame, we're still holding all of this support, right? So that's what we're looking for. We're looking to see if this can hold and trade above some of these most recent supply areas, right, where we just held. So if we can get a trade, target 1 is going to be around 1169, actually probably closer to 1167, with target 2 all the way up into this area where we were looking for a potential breakout to the upside, which never happened in soy. I'm still going to leave the 11.99 on there because we didn't break out at all, and it's still holding as a nice area of resistance. So if we get back up into that area and we get basing again, it's still fantastic for a potential breakout. And then on the long side, if this area, this confirmation entry area does not hold from the hourly, then we can go all the way down here and we can see some demand down below. But we have a ways before we get there. In fact, if we do start to stop out, think about this for a second. If we stop out of this trade, which is a long confirmation entry, if we stop out of this trade, you could just close it and be done. Or, depending upon how we get stopped out, meaning if prices just rip right through our stop, then there's no short position to be had. But if prices come down, fill our long entry, and then base in this area before hitting our stop, now we could look at that as basing before a breakdown on a multiple retest area. So not just not just a sell stop to get us out of our long position, but what about actually adding another short contract to take this down and ride this for a profit down to 11.18 or 11.19. So depending upon how we get stopped out, we may look to actually short on a breakdown below. Depends on if we get basing or not before the level. Corn. I was looking at this last night. Let's remove that. There. Oh, no, I want to remove that zigzag study that was getting in my way there. There we are. So last night we were looking at corn. Full disclosure, I am not in this, but I don't know if anybody is in this, but tell me about this little area right here. What do we see as prices were coming down? If we had come straight down from here and filled our long entry, this would be fantastic, right? So Lewis, so are you long this currently? For me, I was not up at this time. But we've got a little basing, which is the kiss of death, Liz. Got a little basing, which would hurt the profit margins. Now, if you set this up as a set and forget and went to bed, then yes, you got an entry about right here. And now we're trading much deeper into the zone, and we're basing a lot, which means all of the buy orders in this area are likely getting filled right now. So, you know, there's a high probability it may come down to stop out. You're in it right now, so no need to really change much of anything if you follow the 6 candle rule that we have in place. Not everybody does, but if you use the 6 candle rule, then you're likely to just go ahead and close this trade as something that really hasn't developed into, you know, anything more than just waiting around for the last 6 hours. And with this basing right in here, you may have a challenge, even if it does start to move higher, you may have a challenge even getting up to where your target might be. So this one looks like it might be, you know, trying to break a little bit lower. So let's go a little bit longer time frame. See, it's looking like it's going to maybe try and break a little lower from here. So watch some of these areas for a potential breakdown on the short. Right now it's holding, but and there's nothing, you know, but clear skies if we can get up to here, which is where we had our last pivot high from. So, you know, I'm not in love with this area. You know, down below, it's okay. It's a little bit of an area where, you know, we could see some demand. We've already been here once before, so if we did find some demand here again, you know, it would have to be a confirmation entry. But we're sitting right on top of an area, right, Lewis? If you said you're in this one, we are sitting right on top of 2 areas that could actually hold for you. I mean, hopefully it's enough to get above that, you know, basing right here. But if your stop is, you know, in place, then you have nothing to worry about. Rip the band-aid off if it comes down, but ideally it's below even all of this, right? So 2 levels right on top of one another. All right, what do we got here? We got some wheat on the 4-hour. I see nothing to the left. We see some 557 green lines down here, so let's see what we were checking out. What time is it? Man. Oh, that's right. Oh, so you're in the. Oh, that's right. Gap and go was the. I thought you commented on the last one. So never mind then. So let's see. I want to get a little more time here. I want to see what do we have going on about a year back. All right. So we had this pivot low right here. But to me, I still like this area that Chuck had in play from last week. You know, yes, was there some demand that came out of this area? Could we see this area potentially hold as a support? Potentially. You know, if you're going to see that hold, it's going to hold any moment now. But you do have profit margins up to this little bit of area of basing, so it might not be enough profit margin for you. It's only paying about 1.5 to 1, maybe 2 to 1, maybe up to 572.89. But because we got a breakdown, a little basing here before this last candle's drop, you got to consider that a profit target. So I don't love this 566 area because it doesn't offer a lot of profit margin. But if it does hold, I would look to short this. This is a 4-hour level, so you can probably tighten this up a little bit on a 1-hour. Let's see. I like a little bit larger time frame. Let's see. Yeah, I really like that. All right, so yeah, so we got a 1-hour level here. I still like this area up here. Obviously now we have this 1-hour here, and then Chuck's 15-minute way up here. So the more I look at this level, the less I like it. We've been here a couple times already, so I'm actually going to remove those lines altogether. So it's a short around 573. If that fails, then I'll be looking for a lot higher. If prices continue to break down from here, I will not be short. Theoretically, you could, if you want to take this as a low base breakdown on a 15-minute time frame. We've got basing, basing, basing. We've got pinching. If you want to be aggressive on a 15-minute time frame, you could take a short below 566, and that may be enough juice to get you down to 557 with a stop above all this basing here. So let me make that blue for breakdown. I actually like that trade because it would be going with the momentum on a 1-hour. So we're just looking for a short below 566. Soybean oil hit our 1 hour from last night whilst I was sleeping. And we are, it did hit it, but it didn't come in enough to activate the confirmation entry. So it's likely that you're not in this trade. Now, is it still valid? Maybe. It's still valid because we barely penetrated the zone before then coming out, so we know we have proof of demand. I say maybe because it depends upon what happens from here. If prices just reverse from here and come back down, it's a no entry trade for me. Why? Because I have to then consider that my target would have to be around this pivot high, and the risk reward would be less than 2 to 1. So it depends upon if we, if we rally and clear out some of these highs, and we rally up into these areas where I would also not see any short, I would not be short here. I would look to this wick over wick from the hourly before I'd want to be short. Let me go a little bit. I want to see a little more time frame. 30 days. Yeah, and even still, I like this area, but I like this wick over wick right up here too. A lot, actually. I like this one up here a lot because it's a lot closer to the pivot high. But in the meantime, for prices, to get up here, we need to see prices rise off these levels quite a bit. So back to my point. If we just drop from here, then it's a no long entry because of low profit margins. If we rise from here and take out some of these more recent highs and then pull back to this area, and we don't get any basing before the level, then yes, I would look at this as a confirmation entry still with a stop below 37.32, but I need the profit margins to get a little bigger before I do. We got a couple of currencies we'll take a quick look at. And I know, let's see. So we have the New Zealand here. Let's pop up here. Just taking a quick look at all of them. So the New Zealand here is has broken down. No entry on this. Well, depends upon if you would have caught this off of our confirmation long entry from last week. But ultimately, it broke down on another retest. Now, it tried to hold this level as well, depending upon how tight your stop was. This one either took you out for a little loss relative to the reward potential, or you didn't take it, or you're still in it because you maybe had your stop down over here. I don't know. I don't want to trade this level anymore, so therefore I'm going to remove those lines. And now that we're starting to see, what I want to see here is, I'm betting we're getting lower highs and lower lows, but what I suspect is we're getting a little bit of a shift in momentum, as I expected, right? A little bit of a shift in momentum. Here's what I want to look at. What I really like is this most recent rally right here. The origin of that rally is right here, right? So I was originally looking, well, if we hit this area where we saw some, basing before this last drop, is this going to be enough supply to push prices lower? And I thought maybe, but then I looked down here and I said, but I'd have to consider, 7022, my profit target off the short, and it really isn't offering all that much. And then I started to say, you know what, this most recent last 2 hourly bars are actually really strong. I wonder if we're getting a little shift in the momentum, which was down, but is, are we shifting in momentum at all to the upside? And how I gauge momentum is I look at MACD down here, and what I look for is, I look at prices making lower lows in the context of this little bit of a downtrend here, right, between here and here. And then I look straight down at the correlating swing lows in my MACD, and I notice that, the MACD lines are not getting lower than one another. This is actually about the same swing low, so it's showing that even if you look at the histogram is actually not quite as deep as it is here. And so what you're seeing is this momentum divergence towards the bullish side. And so it looks like we're probably, even if we do hold this area here and we pull back, I want to use that as an area, as an opportunity to get long, because I believe we're going to start to see a rise, and we could have margins pretty easily up to around, 70, potentially even, back up here to this wick over wick at 70.92. So I'm really only looking for one trade here, and that is if I can get a pullback, I'd want to be long. British pound, again, didn't even try to hold this area of demand. After multiple almost retests, if you were really watching this in the overnight time frame, then this should really be a confirmation entry. I was sleeping during this time, so that's why I didn't change the lines to dashed lines for confirmation. But what you know about what we do here is anytime we get almost retests or actual retests to the same area, we have to consider that we're likely to blow right through that. And so we'd want to have more of a confirmation entry, which we did not get. Plus, with all this basing in front of it, it likely wasn't a trade that you took anyway, but is completely invalid at this point. Now, from last Thursday at the very latest, we've got a blue line here, which Chuck put in place for a potential breakdown. But we needed to see basing before the breakdown, and we simply did not get that. Therefore, that is now no good. On the larger time frame, we are pretty much sideways. But with this most recent decline, we should really be looking for opportunities to consider being short on any time frame, 4 hour or lower, at least right now, because we took out all this support right here to the left off this last move. So now that puts in a lower low. And if we get back up to this area and this area holds, which I would suspect it would off of all of that excess supply that forced that selling, then ultimately I would suspect that we would make it back down to these areas, maybe even lower in British pound. Now we are on a smaller time frame, on a larger time frame, holding this area of demand right now. So could be that we get right back up to this area, but that's what I would look for is right now off the 4 hour, I would look to be short on at 134. Now on an hourly, we're still kind of trying to hold this whole area, rally, base, rally, base, rally. We're still trying to hold that, and we are holding that area. On a 15-minute time frame, I was going to see if maybe it made sense, but I don't see anything that makes sense right now to try to join on the uptrend. You have a 15-minute, level just below. That looks okay. As well on a smaller time frame. I like the larger time frame a little bit better, which is a little higher. But if you like it on the smaller time frame, we've got 15-minute levels down here. Whoop, I meant to just change those to purple. So unless we have some new pullbacks to some quality areas, which I don't really see anywhere in here, anything quality to be a buyer, I'll just kind of wait patiently for prices to get a little higher to be short. If we happen to get a rally out of here and maybe there's a new area of demand formed, then yeah, maybe I'll look at something like that. But right now I have nothing on the long side, just waiting for shorts. Yen hit our confirmation entry and moved away. Very well, very nice. Now, what I'm looking at actually in the yen, and I'm going to take these lines off because that's no good anymore, only because we violated it by more than 50%. If we didn't violate it by more than 50%, we wouldn't have gotten filled on the short. But now that we did violate that by more than 50%, and if anybody caught the short, it's no longer a good level anymore. So I'll remove that. Just waiting for this bit of a wick over wick up top now. But while we're waiting for that, I actually do really like this area. It's a wick over wick, but I'm actually gonna, on the 4 hour, it's this big, demand right here. It's this big area. But, if you look at this wick over wick right here, this is basing on an hourly time frame. Which is right here, right? So if I want to tighten up that entry a little bit, we'll do something like that, right? But I like that for a long on the yen. And that's coming off of the 4 hour, but refined on the 1 hour. Okay. Aussie rallied right up. Actually, this is one that you may actually want to consider as a current short. Came right up into this area, which took out, I'll drop that in place, which took out all of this support to the left, took out all of this support to the left as well. Just a big collapse, and now we're all the way back up, and we had a very nice entry here. I'm sorry, a very nice entry into the area. So if you are, let's see, that's a 15-minute. Let me look at the hourly. Okay, so the hourly, you kind of have to consider that you've got this just above. So you've got two levels just right on top of one another. One comes from the 4 hour, one comes from, the 1 hour. So in a perfect world, your stop is just above, both levels. That way you're free and clear. I still like this level down below. Maybe because it is the lower of the two, and I want my stop to be above this area if I can. We'll use this initial level as a little confirmation, which we might get here in just a moment. So what does that mean? Let's go down. I'm sorry, this is the 15-minute, not 4 hour, 15-minute. So purple. Y'all hanging with me out there? Got a couple more markets to go, right? So, okay, so we are getting a little more confirmation right now. So if you're looking at a short right this moment, it would be below 74.27, headed in the direction. If we get a confirmation out of here, you could have a nice tight buy stop above here, but in a perfect world, your stop is still above 74.35. And if this thing keeps falling, I have no reason to believe that we're not coming all the way down here as a profit target on your short. And last but not least, thanks, Liz. I appreciate you. All right. Let's see here. 10-year. Gosh, what am I seeing in the 10-year? I see prices in a downtrend overall on the 4 hour, but I'm starting to see momentum shift back up to the upside on the 4 hour. So that tells me that these support levels are actually holding and are likely to continue holding. And it looks like some of this resistance, some of this supply up here may get taken out if we got enough bullish momentum. So on an hourly time frame, haha, very accomplished. YouTube virgin. Not anymore, buddy. Not anymore. But then it's back in Chuck's hands tomorrow, so this whole thing will be hella smooth as soon as he gets back. But he has, hopefully he's having a very nice, well-deserved weekend with his family. All right, so let's see. Yeah, I mean, this 15-minute level down here that Chuck still had, that actually might have been mine. Actually, I know Chuck doesn't always place the lines on there for a stop, but yeah, that is mine. Never got an entry back on that one, so let's go back up to the hourly. Man, I don't know if we're going to get a pullback at all in this thing. I mean, do I like this area? I do. I don't see a real opportunity for a breakout but small pullback to one of these areas would be very healthy. Might not get it though. Prices may just rally from here, and if they do, then look to join somewhere around here. Not yet. If we just pull back from here, this does not qualify. If we just pull back from here, it doesn't. But if we clear out this, some of this to the left, and we get a little bit higher, and then we get a pullback, yeah, okay, then the profit margins actually make sense. So a couple little opportunities there. '30-year, this area is holding, right? So there's proof of demand, but let's click that. Unselected it. Come on. But because it's been tested once already, while I still like the area overall, it has to be in confirmation. There's no clear area for a potential long breakout on the 15. But yeah, so we're talking still a pullback to the same, similar areas. On the hourly time frame, you see you have this, area down here. So if you want a little bit of a lower risk, what you can do is bump this down here, and that'll expand your profit margins on the larger time frame as well, right? If we get a pullback, similar to the 10-year. Looks like 6E, so euro. Gosh, man, this was a confirmation entry because we had a small retest here, but it just didn't hold. Before then holding this down here, which I would have never been long because of this long upper wick. I would have not caught this at all, even if I were awake. I would not have caught anything off of this move. But this confirmation is a no entry trade because it did not come out of the zone in our upward direction before violating the whole area. So right now there's nothing below except for what we have all the way down here still. So I'll stand by that. We have a breakout line potential up here around 121, but let's go back to the hourly. This would be the third retest if we happen to get up here. So if we just go straight through from here, no breakout, because then you're just buying after a rally in price. But if we move up from here and we base in front of this level, now we're expecting prices to break to the upside. That would still be a valid long breakout. Now, it's aggressive, but if you thought that prices were trying to go higher and turn from here, let me load the MACD, and I want to see if we've got any bullish momentum on this thing, because we might. We don't yet though, but we'll look on a 15. But yeah, prices are, still at a downtrend, and MACD is still, pointing lower. We are getting a positive tick on MACD down here, so that's interesting. But that doesn't mean, that all of a sudden we want to be, a buyer. But what I'm really interested in is some of these areas down here. Because if I look at this on a 15-minute, well, first I was targeting this area on the hourly. So let's talk about that, which is fantastic for a potential long. If you wanted to try to join any sort of a, potential trend that could be shifting higher. And again, I'm looking at this, I'm going, man, we get these big green candles in the opposite direction of the trend, and somebody's trying to pump some money into this thing. So if we can get, long in this area with the proper, with enough profit margin, then yeah, I like 1.211.4. On a 15-minute, that's all of this area. So you can see kind of what it looks like there. But right now we're not taking out this supply. It looks like it's trying to hold. and so it's acting as resistance. And so if prices do pull back, the profit margins are barely 2 to 1, but still, if you take a 2 to 1, then you could get some decent margins off that, just right back up to this resistance. So it's good for about 2 to 1 on euro. And the CAD, last but not least, we got the CAD pulling back. It didn't pull back deep enough. We've got a 4-hour area of basing after the rally, so we are in an uptrend. Yes, I will be posting those, Peter, in the trade worksheets. I will be posting those there as soon as I'm wrapped up here. I didn't want to get caught up in that just yet, but I will be posting them to the trade worksheet right after. Is that what you mean? All right, so we did not get a pullback all the way to here. We're seeing on a 1 hour, it's a little aggressive, but I kind of like this area. It's newly formed, but only because I don't know, are we going to get all the way down here to the 7783? Let me go back up to the 4 hour. Do I want to take that chance? Yeah, I'm not gonna. That's very aggressive. Just because prices have pulled back. Yeah, they're holding this wick over wick area right now. Is basically what they're holding on to. It's aggressive, but it's not out of the question to say, okay, this thing is turned at this wick over wick. It's not getting to 77.8. I'm sorry, 7778. So if I'm looking to join, this strong uptrend in the CAD, I may have to do so more aggressively. And what I like about this is we had a little bit of a rally, a little bit of basing overnight, and now we're taking off as we're nearing our open here in the U.S. And so we're starting to see some strength come into this. So 78059 or 7806. It is higher risk. I would like to see it get above this, because if it doesn't get above this and comes back down, now you've got everything. All your profit margins are just shrinking, right? So yeah, I would like to see a little bit of a move higher first and then a pullback. Then it won't be so aggressive. Right now, it's pretty aggressive to say if prices pull back from here, I'm expecting it, to go higher. I would too expect it to go higher, but it's a little aggressive. But I still like it on the 1 hour. On the 15-minute, you would adjust your stop maybe below this area, right? So just refining the stop would be right here, right? All right. Well, good news. I made it through all of our markets, but I did it in twice the time that Chuck normally does it. I don't know how we get through this stuff in 30 minutes, but I sure as hell appreciate you guys hanging out with me in the last hour. This has been super fun. I'm not going to lie, I was super stressed out that I wasn't going to be able to get any of this to work this morning. But you guys hung in there with me. I am no longer a virgin to the YouTube lives. I will be back in the Traders Army community trading rooms in my normal Zoom environment tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we have our, for me it's 8 o'clock, but it's our 10 o'clock trading room. And so that's going to be tomorrow, Tuesday morning. Anybody who's looking to become a pro member and join us in our live trading rooms, you can do so. You can use the promo code TRADER60, and that'll get you 60% off your first month. That's TRADER60. But you can join us. We have a trading room tomorrow, open forum on Wednesday. Chuck will be back on Thursday. Chuck's going to be back tomorrow morning and throughout the rest of the week on your daily market commentary. And if you're in need of beefing up your trade plan or starting one, if you don't know how to write one, we do have a trade plan class coming up. You can check out all the details at tradersarmy.com. Other than that, you guys, I'm going to pop off here if there's no more questions, which it didn't look like there were too many questions, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this morning. And then, yes, now that I have successfully mustered my way through this, Chuck can take a lot more vacations now, and I can continue to get up an hour and a half earlier than necessary when I'm on the West Coast. That's the West Coast for you. That's the downside of being a trader in California, is you got to be up super early. And I grew up a lot of my life staying up really late playing music, till well into the morning. And so when I started trading about 15 years ago, I thought, oh, it's going to, eventually my body clock will shift and I'll go to bed earlier and I'll be better about waking up early. I still hate it the same, with the same passion that I did 15 years ago. I still do not like getting up super early, but it's it comes with the territory living on the West Coast, right? So, if you have any questions, shoot us emails, shoot us a text, support@tradersarmy.com. I'm going to sign off. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.